Welcome back to Intables, everyone. So I'm going to go right now with you guys on what happened today. We started off the day, as you guys can see, we had a major pullback right before going into open. And then here at open, we had this major spike as we had breaking news right before going to extended hours that Russia's foreign minister says boundaries of self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk Republic is a matter to be resolved in the future, showing us that we may have just found a bottom and that things might just get better from here. But then shortly after, as you guys can see, we did extend, but then we had news on Ukraine asking the UK and the US for more weapons, possibly expecting an invasion from Russia. And then shortly after, we had a senior Russian lawmaker coming out proposing that deployment of Russia forces to Donbass is designed solely to avoid a big war of the kind that the US and Ukraine appear to want. Again, they are blaming us and blaming Ukraine for a possible war. So again, that could be exactly what they want to do before they do attack. And then about 10 minutes after, we had Russia's upper house vote in favor of giving Putin formal authority to deploy Russia's armed forces aboard, meaning that Putin now has the strength to be able to attack in any way he wants, which means if he does feel a threat from Ukraine or the US, he can attack with full force and use all of his military power, including nuclear weapons. And as you guys can see, we started to get a pullback here. As you guys can see, we had our EMA lines still below our MACD, showing us that we still could continue on down. And as you guys can see, our EMA lines tried to cross above our MACD, got rejected, came back down, again crossing in the middle of our MACD, and our buy pressure showing us not that strong momentum that we were looking for to continue on up. And Putin did come live shortly after that. Now, a few things that was pretty crazy that he did mention in his speech. He mentioned that the best decision that Ukraine could take would be to renounce its NATO membership ambitions. And he also mentioned that Ukraine's talk of nuclear ambitions was aimed at Russia, basically saying that Ukraine is threatening Russia and that Ukraine basically deserves what they're getting. And the last thing that they mentioned, and the most worrisome of them all in my opinion, is when Russia said it will evacuate its diplomatic staff from Ukraine, mentioning that they're going to take away all of Russia's diplomatic staff, which means that they could be preparing to attack. Again, this would be preparation, and when people do attack, this is kind of what they do. They want to get their diplomatic side out of the way so that way they don't kill their own people, and that way they can use them to create better policies in the future and create a better economy. So again, we got a major pullback from this. Biden did speak, and we had a bounce back because of that, because Biden didn't continue to put fear in the market. And again, as I mentioned in the morning, we are looking for reactions that either Putin already has planned or that he could be reacting to sanctions that every single country has been putting on them. And the United States is going to put some of the worst sanctions, but not the worst sanction that Putin can't get through. So we're going to keep an eye on this and exactly how this does play out. Again, we did drop down to 435 after we did drop down below 440. And as you guys can see, we had this bounce back, and now we are pulling back. So going into the larger time frames, I'm going to go over the daily chart so that way you guys can see exactly what kind of momentum we do have overall. And again, we do have a very strong level that we mentioned here at 422. And we do have our previous lows here at 420. So if we do continue on down below our previous lows, then in my opinion, of course, we would continue on down if we do get that increase in sell volume, which it looks like, again, we are continuing on down. Now, again, we have to consider that even though we are pulling back, that if Russia decides to de-escalate in any way possible, then in my opinion, we could have a major run here. And the reason why I say that, again, is you guys can see this morning, again, we had decent news that Russia could be possibly de-escalating. And then we had a strong bull run, almost looking like we were going to continue on past 447.50, which was our key point. Again, we did have our 445 mark that we did come up and test today. But again, looking for that 447.50 mark to get back above. Now, as you guys can see, again, we do have our price target that we did mention. If we do continue on with this bear flag, then we would be testing our 415 mark. Again, our 415 mark, which is also our previous consolidation that we did mention, would be exactly what I'll be looking to see if we can bounce off of. Now, again, if Russia does attack Ukraine, then that 415 level becomes a lot less stronger of a support, in my opinion. We could continue on down and easily test 400. Again, this would be catastrophic. This could be terrible. A lot of Ukrainians, in my opinion, I just don't want to talk about it. It could be very bad, and I'm just hoping the best out there. Definitely keep them in our prayers. I think that's the bigger picture here. Again, either we do have a bounce at our previous lows at 420, or we do test our $400 psychological resistance. And then we did mention that we have a lighter support here at 380. And if we do not hold 380, then we would be testing our previous continuation on up here at 360. And if we did continue on down below 360, say that China starts to get involved, and then we start to have a massive geopolitical war, and we do come down and we do test our 340 mark, which is our pandemic levels, then in my opinion, if we do continue on down below this with an increase in sale volume, which again, like I said, is speaking way ahead, then we could have a major continuation on down from our major reaction to the downside from when we did find out about COVID and we did continue on down again. That would be a large emotional reaction to the downside if we did continue on down below for 340. So again, we're going to keep an eye on this, but again, just looking for our first support here at 420. As long as we do stay above 420, then we still could continue on up. If we do come down and we do test 415 and Russia still has not attacked, then we still have a chance for a possible invert head and shoulder here. Now, again, we did also have a previous invert head and shoulder. We did drop into lower lows. A lot of people thought we were going to crash at this point in time. And again, there is no telling that we are going to crash necessarily. But one thing we can say is that we are overextended, as you guys can see here on the RSI. Now, one thing we can see here is that we do have a wick that did drop down below our previous consolidation and our previous invert head and shoulder, which could signal, again, as we have been mentioning, that we could continue on down here. And again, we would be looking for either that invert head and shoulder, or we could be coming down and testing our $400 level and then our 360 level that we'll be looking to see if we can bounce off of, which again is one of our stronger supports, that if we did drop down below 400, that we would be looking to see if we can bounce off of to possibly have a bounce back. And I definitely would be playing into longs at this point in time. I could see us having a major bounce back, as this would be just above our pandemic levels and exactly where we did break out previously, having a double bottom and continuing on up a very strong level here at 360 that I would be getting into longs with. So again, we will keep an eye on SPY. We will continue to stay updated on exactly what Russia does. And again, as always, if you guys happen to be interested in intraday respective breakouts, any breakouts that I mentioned throughout the day, go to instables.com in the description below, and you will never miss breakout alert today. Again, all of you instables that have been coming over and supporting the channel, all of you instables that have been coming over from the room and supporting the channel, I appreciate every one of you guys. We're going to continue to go at it. We had a nice breakout today with INDO. We will continue to stay solid. Make sure we stay consistent and stay patient, especially in this market. If we're going to have major pullbacks like this, then we got to make sure we are patient, making sure we do get that strong move, just like we saw with INDO today. And again, if you guys do like this video, it does help other people find it, and it does help the channel grow. And I do appreciate it very much. And again, God bless you all, and I'll see you guys in pre-market.